Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Dandelion Diaries. Today is going to be my June 2023 ink progress report. So I like to, at the end of every month, use the pens that I had inked for that month and kind of write a review on which one was my favorite, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and so on. The pens that I had this time were these beautiful ones right here. We have a Sailor Compass in Esterbrook Estie, Pilot Kakuno, Ferris Carousel, Lamy, Safari, a Kaweco Sport, and then also my Pilot Vanishing Point, Decimo. So these are all of the inks that I had inked. If you're interested in what I picked, I will leave the link in the description and then put it in the cards for you guys of what I have currently inked. But as for that, I'm going to just start with the review and zoom you guys in. So the first pen that I had inked was my Sailor Compass in transparent green with Monteverde Olivine, and I felt this was a really good match for this pen, and it was overall just an okay writer. And last time I went ahead and did a not so favorite over here, but I'm going to do on a scale of 1 to 7 since I have 7 pens inked, and I'm gonna rate this one as a 5 of 7, so 7 being the best, 1 being the worst. So 5 of 7. Ooh, there we go. Sorry, out of focus. And I really enjoyed this pen. It was just not my favorite because of the scratchiness of the nib. In my experience, Sailor has a nib that you're meant to feel the feedback on the nib, and this is definitely one of those pens, and this is the cheaper end of the Sailor line. I was really happy with the ink because it's like one of my favorite colors. But as for writing experience, it wasn't top notch. Moving on into my second pen that I had inked, and this is my Esterbrook Estie in Tortoise, and it was inked with Robert Oster's Cafe Crema, and this was such a beautiful combination. This is definitely, I don't know, I'm gonna give it my second favorite because it was so nice. It was just a really nice combination. This writing experience was just absolutely stunning. The shading on the ink came through super well on the fine nib of this Esterbrook, and it was just such a fun writing experience. Esterbrook nibs are so smooth, and I was really happy with this combination for sure. Next on my list is my Pilot Kakuno. This has a fine nib, and I had it inked with Robert Oster's Hickory Aflame, which is a Vanessa 1938 exclusive ink. And I was really disappointed with this one, if I'm being honest. And therefore, it's going to get a 2 out of 7. I love this color ink, and in other pens that I've had it with, I was really happy with, and this one, it just wasn't the best. The grip on this pen is a little bit awkward. It has a mild step where the cap closes down, and it was just kind of awkward to hold in my hand where my finger rests. But I still like the Kakuno pens because they are incredibly inexpensive and they're great for practicing with and testing out inks if you're afraid of ruining a pen since they are so cheap. The next pen I had was my least favorite, and I think I said this in the swatching of the currently inked, and it is my it is my Ferris Carousel pen in vanilla. The pen is not the problem. It was the ink that I chose, and I was really hopeful that the ink that I picked would be able to show up well enough in this pen because it is from Ferris and it was Ferris Little Robinia is the ink I chose. It's a very light lavender purple. But since this is a medium nib, I figured it would show up a little bit better than it did, and I was very disappointed because you really couldn't see any of the beautiful shading that ink has. So this one got my 1 out of 7. Again, because the ink was just so light with this pen combination, I had a really hard time reading it when I was journaling. I really do love the shading of this ink. It has like a blue shade to it, but this pen did not showcase any of that, and next time I will be using this ink in a much broader pen or maybe even a stub. Next on our list is my Lamy Safari, and this one is in cream, I believe. Yeah, cream. And this has a fine nib. You can kind of see in the ink window there that I used most of the ink in this pen, but I did contaminate the sample when I put the ink in this pen. So I've tried to fill it with Lamy Mango, but the last time I used this pen, it had a blue ink in it, and I guess I didn't clean it well enough, and so my ink got contaminated and is now this kind of like awkward orange brown color. But I'm gonna give this one a 3 out of 7 just because of the ink. I'm not a fan. I was not a fan. The pen was not the problem at all with this. Like I said, it was just the ink. Since the sample got contaminated, it just wrote this ugly, vomity yellow color, almost like bile, and I couldn't get around it. I didn't want to write with it because I thought it looked ugly, and I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. Next on my list is my Kaweco Sport in Smooth Sage, and this one was inked with Atlas Iron Ore. And if you've watched any of my videos, you will know how much I loved writing with this pen, and it actually ended up being my number 1, or my number 7, I guess, like the top of the top. And I don't know if it was the ink combination with the broad nib or if it was just the broad nib in general, but this was so much fun to write with. And I didn't even just write with this one. I ended up drawing in my planners with it, in my journal. I did headings with it. It was just such a fun experience. And with the sparkle and the mild red sheen and the shading, it brought the page to life. And I was really, 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 really happy with this one. And the last pen I had inked was my Pilot Vanishing Point in Pearl. And this one is in an 18 karat fine nib. I wanted to love this. I really did. The pen is beautiful. I love this pen. I'm not hating on the pen at all. It's the ink that I chose for it. I think I was wanting it to be a more dusty blue, and it ended up being a little too bright for like because I was going for like a desert summer color scheme here, and the blue was just a little too bright for what I was going for. So this one just kind of gets to be in the middle as my 4 of 7. I will say, journaling experience-wise, this was much more pleasant to write with because I could write pages and pages and pages, and it was just a nice bouncy gold nib. But it's just the color. I mean, it's a great pen, it's a great ink. The color didn't match with what I wanted it to match. All right, so that was all of the pens I had inked for the month of June, and my rating of 1 to 7. That Kaweco Sport in Smooth Sage seriously was so much fun to use, and I was really surprised considering the Pilot Prayer from the month of May was just a little too small for what I wanted to write with, but this one did excellent. I was really disappointed with the Ferris Wheel Press Carousel in the Little Robinia, and also the Lamy Safari in Lamy Mango. Hopefully I can re-ink both of those and get a better experience because I was just really sad with how they turned out. Same with the Pilot Kakuno and the Robert Oster Vanessa exclusive. You can see how it's more red over here, which is what I wanted, but when it came out writing style, it was so brown. I was very sad. I wanted it to be more of a reddish color, but overall, I'm not complaining. I think I picked well. I just think that my ink choices needed to be a little bit better for the nib sizes that I did choose. If you're interested in more of the ink videos I have, I will leave some playlists down in the description. And if you're interested in more content from me, I do have an Instagram, and I will leave my handle on the screen. I do post there regularly, sometimes give spoilers of the different ink swatches I do, different things like that. But let me know which one you think was your favorite in the comments based on how it wrote or what it looked like. I would love to know your opinion. I thank you guys so much for watching and so much for your support, but I will see you in the next one.